A simple woman kicked out of dealership next day. Her husband's Rolls-Royce arrives. Have you ever witnessed a moment so shocking, so dripping with poetic justice that it leaves you speechless? Today we're going to unravel the jaw-dropping tale of a humble woman who just wanted to buy a car only to be insulted and kicked out of a luxury dealership. Little did those arrogant salespeople know, the very next day, her husband would show up with a brand new Rolls-Royce Phantom, sending everyone's jaws crashing to the floor. This is a story brimming with drama twists, betrayal, and ultimately the sweet satisfaction of karma. Buckle up as we dive into this captivating real-life-inspired saga. Marissa Peterson had never been one to chase luxury. She had grown up in a modest household in Iowa, raised by parents who instilled in her a sense of humility and compassion. Her father had been a mechanic who worked late into the night in a small garage behind the house. Her mother used to run the local bakery, waking at the crack of dawn to bake bread and bagels that made her family proud. They were humble folks, known for their kindness rather than their wealth. Now in her early 30s, Marissa found herself living in Los Angeles, a place of dreams, but also glaring social divides. She had recently married Michael Peterson, a reserved entrepreneur who had built his fortune with a successful chain of eco-friendly cleaning products. They shared a quiet life, despite having the means to indulge in extravagance. Their home was elegant, but not ostentatious, reflecting Marissa's down-to-earth sensibilities and Michael's preference for subtlety. Early one crisp Tuesday morning, Marissa decided it was time to replace her aging sedan. She and Michael had spoken of getting something that was safe and comfortable for longer trips. Michael was leaving on a business trip, so Marissa took it upon herself to visit a few dealerships in the city. She'd done her research. She wanted to test drive either a BMW or a Mercedes, possibly a smaller SUV that would handle LA's highways gracefully. Dressed in a simple floral blouse and well-worn jeans, she tucked her hair into a loose ponytail and set out on her mission. A friend had mentioned a prominent dealership called Sullivan Prestige Motors, known for carrying premium European brands. The dealership had an excellent reputation for variety, though it was rumored to be a bit on the pricey side. Marissa figured that browsing there would at least give her an understanding of the market. She was ready to buy should she fall in love with something. Marissa arrived at Sullivan Prestige Motors around midday. The sun was strong, and the shining exteriors of the luxury cars nearly blinded her. She parked her old sedan, a 10-year-old slightly battered car, on the far side of the lot, as the spaces closest to the entrance were occupied by vehicles with eye-popping price tags. When she walked inside, an immediate wave of chilled air and polished opulence engulfed her. The floors were an immaculate glossy marble. Rows of brand-new BMWs, Audis, and Mercedes-Benz lined the showroom, each shining in pristine condition. Marissa was greeted by a stony-faced receptionist who quickly glanced at her attire. A flicker of disinterest flashed in the receptionist's eyes, but Marissa pretended not to notice. "Good afternoon," Marissa said brightly, giving a friendly smile. "I'd like to see some of your mid-sized SUVs. Maybe BMW X3 or Mercedes GLC. Is there a salesperson available?" The receptionist, whose name tag read. Carla looked her up and down, unimpressed by Marissa's casual clothes. She pressed her lips together before picking up a phone. After a moment of hushed conversation, she directed Marissa to the far corner of the showroom. "Mr. Richards is over there," Carla said, curtly, as though every word were a major inconvenience. Marissa offered a polite nod and made her way across the glistening marble floor. Brad Richards, a tall man in his late 40s, wore a suit that gleamed with an impeccable cut. When he saw Marissa approaching, he raised an eyebrow. The mild curiosity in his eyes quickly morphed into condescension as he noticed her simple attire. "Yes, can I help you?" he asked, in a tone that sounded more like, "Why are you here?" Marissa introduced herself and mentioned her interest in either a BMW or a Mercedes. She explained that she was looking for comfort and reliability, and was prepared to discuss finances if she found the right vehicle. Though her words were polite and clear, Brad's attention seemed to wander after the first sentence. He fiddled with a pen in his hand, tapping it against a leather-bound clipboard. Sure, he muttered. "We have the BMW X3 over here." He walked briskly toward the nearest display model, his polished loafers squeaking on the showroom floor. Marissa had to increase her pace just to keep up. As she reached the X3, Brad rattled off mechanical details in a rushed monotone. His eyes, however, kept drifting around the room as though searching for a more lucrative prospect. Marissa tried to ask a few questions. What's the fuel efficiency like? How does it compare to the Mercedes GLC in terms of price? I'm open to test driving, whichever might be best suited. But Brad interjected. Look, the BMW X3 starts at around 50 grand, but once you add options, you're probably going to be pushing 60 or 70. Are you sure that's the range you're comfortable spending? He emphasized the last word with a smirk. Marissa felt her cheeks flush. "Yes, I'm aware of the price range," she replied politely. "I've spoken with my husband and we're open to it." Brad's phone buzzed and he glanced at the screen. With a heavy sigh, he turned his attention back to Marissa Wright. "So, do you want to test drive it, or—" Before she could answer, another potential customer appeared, a man wearing a Rolex, sporting expensive sunglasses, and dressed in a crisp, tailored suit. Brad's eyes lit up instantly. He stepped away from Marissa without so much as an apology and greeted the new man with a beaming smile. He shook the man's hand vigorously, launched into a polished sales pitch, and guided him toward a large black Mercedes parked in the center of the showroom. Marissa stood there stunned. It was as if she'd ceased to exist. One moment she was asking about the vehicles, and the next moment Brad had abandoned her in favor of someone he deemed a real customer. Feeling a knot of embarrassment forming in her stomach, she waited for a minute or two, expecting Brad to come back, but he didn't. She slowly walked back toward the front desk, ignoring the stares of a few staff members who seemed more amused by the situation than sympathetic. Marissa tried to catch Carla's eye, but the receptionist seemed suddenly busy with her computer screen. Eventually, Carla glanced up with a forced impatience. "Yes, I was hoping someone could help me test drive the BMW X3 or maybe the Mercedes GLC. Mr. Richards seemed occupied." Carla pursed her lips in an exaggerated grimace. "All the sales staff are pretty busy right now," she said, not even attempting to look around. "We're very short-staffed. Maybe you could come back another day." Marissa felt the sting of humiliation. She tried to remain calm, though her voice quivered slightly. "I'm ready to buy, if I find the right car," she persisted. "Is there no one else available?" Carla gave a short, sharp laugh. "Look, we get a lot of people in here who just want to browse. If you're serious, maybe you should make an appointment. We cater to a certain clientele, and we can't have people wandering in without booking time to speak with a salesperson. Especially during peak hours, it was clear she was implying that Marissa didn't belong. Whether it was her clothes, her battered sedan in the parking lot, or the fact that she was alone. Marissa couldn't be sure. All she knew was that she felt like an outsider. She opened her mouth to argue, but found her voice had left her. Carla turned away, effectively dismissing her. The humiliation peaked when Carla quietly but firmly said, "We don't want loiterers, ma'am. If you're not going to buy anything, please leave." Marissa's eyes misted. She swallowed hard and pivoted, walking back out to her old car. The sting stayed with her as she drove away. She felt angry, embarrassed, and confused. Did these people think she couldn't afford their cars just by looking at her? It was such a stark reminder of how superficial the world could be if only they knew who her husband was or what their bank accounts looked like. But that wasn't her style. She wasn't one to flash money around or brag about her family's success. That evening, Marissa lay on the couch, gazing blankly at the TV, while an infomercial blared in the background. She had tears in her eyes, not because she felt worthless, but because the entire interaction had rattled her. Growing up, her parents had always taught her that treating people with kindness mattered more than anything else. To be looked down upon because she didn't wear designer clothes was a cruel blow. As she was about to switch off the TV, her phone buzzed. It was her husband Michael calling from Chicago. His trip was going well. He had just closed a partnership deal with a chain of organic supermarkets. She tried to sound upbeat, but Michael immediately sensed something was off. "Hey, honey, what's wrong?" "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Marissa couldn't hold back. She told him everything, voice trembling with the memory of how the dealership staff had humiliated her. She recalled the patronizing stares, the rude dismissal, and how she felt like they had judged her purely by her appearance. Michael listened quietly, though his voice remained calm. Marissa knew the subtle tension in his tone, signaled he was furious. Michael had always believed in treating others with respect, and hearing how his wife had been made to feel lesser was enough to set him on edge. "Stay calm," he told her. "Let me handle this. I'll be home tomorrow. Just give me time to fix this." Marissa ended the call feeling marginally better, if only because Michael had that comforting protective air about him. He rarely flexed his financial muscle, but she knew that when the moment called for it, he wouldn't hesitate to stand up for her. The next day dawned bright and clear. Marissa woke up, fixed herself a cup of Earl Grey tea from Fortnum and Mason, a small luxury she had come to enjoy, and tried to chase away the lingering remnants of yesterday's fiasco. She planned to spend the day running errands, and then maybe researching a different dealership. But around 10 a.m. she heard the distinct rumble of a powerful engine outside. Peeking through the window, she saw a gleaming Rolls-Royce Phantom gliding up their driveway. It was impossible to miss its iconic grille and the Spirit of Ecstasy ornament poised at the hood. Then the passenger door opened, and out stepped Michael. Looking sharp in a tailored navy suit, Marissa rushed to greet him. "What is this?" she asked breathlessly, gesturing at the Phantom. "I've never even seen you drive one of these before." Michael simply smiled. "I bought this a while back as an investment. I use it for special occasions or to ferry around high-profile clients. But today it's our chariot." Marissa's eyes widened. "Where are we going?" He placed a light kiss on her forehead. "We're heading back to Sullivan Prestige Motors, and I want you to be with me." A swirl of anticipation and anxiety coursed through Marissa. She didn't like confrontations, but the memory of how she'd been treated still burned in her mind. She nodded, trusting Michael's judgment. When they arrived at Sullivan Prestige, Motors in the luxurious Phantom, the effect was immediate. A valet who had been almost disinterested in guiding other cars rushed up to open the doors for them. Staff members in the showroom craned their necks, staring at the Phantom as it glided into a prime parking spot. Everyone's attention riveted on Michael and Marissa as they stepped out, exuding an air of quiet confidence. Carla, the same receptionist who had shooed Marissa away the day before, watched them enter with wide eyes. She looked momentarily dazzled, as though uncertain how to respond. Finally, she snapped into her professional mode. "Good morning. Welcome to Sullivan Prestige Motors. How can we help you today?" Michael took a step forward. His tone was calm, but carried the weight of someone who expected respect. "We're here to purchase a vehicle. My wife was in yesterday, but apparently no one thought she was worthy of their time." Carla faltered, her cheeks coloring. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding. Let me get someone to help you right away." She scrambled for the phone as though her life depended on it. Marissa stood beside Michael, her heart pounding. Part of her felt vindicated. Another part felt uneasy about the scene. But she reminded herself of how they had treated her. This confrontation was well-deserved. Within minutes, the dealership's general manager, a man named Timothy Russell, arrived wearing a forced smile. "Welcome, Sir Ma'am. I'm Timothy Russell, the manager here. We apologize for any inconvenience. How can we be of service to you today?" Michael's eyes flicked to Carla, who was squirming behind the desk. "My wife came here ready to buy an SUV, but was insulted and kicked out. I hope you can understand how unacceptable that is now I'm back in town and we're still interested in a new car. Maybe two if the experience is right. Does that make sense?" Mr. Russell Timothy's carefully rehearsed corporate grin wavered. "Of course, sir. We'd be delighted to assist you. Let's discuss your needs over here in our VIP lounge." Michael and Marissa followed Timothy to a tastefully furnished lounge area with white leather seats and a glass table. A complimentary tray of artisanal coffee, sparkling water and pastries was brought in. Marissa couldn't help but notice how starkly different this reception was compared to the day before. Suddenly, every staff member was bending over backward to accommodate them. Shortly thereafter, Brad Richards, the salesman who had brushed Marissa off, was summoned. He walked in with a tense expression, his posture rigid. The confident swagger from the day before had evaporated. "Brad, these are our valued customers. Mr. and Mrs. Peterson." Timothy introduced his tone, layered with a warning. "They're interested in purchasing a vehicle, maybe more than one. Mr. Peterson, Mrs. Peterson, Brad here is one of our top sales associates. He'll make sure you find exactly what you need," Marissa noticed the flicker in Brad's eyes. Recognition, then guilt. He stammered, "I'm sorry about yesterday. I must have been preoccupied. Let me show you our best models." He gestured toward the showroom. Michael exchanged glances with Marissa and nodded. "Sure, let's go." Brad took them on a personal tour, trying to appear enthusiastic. He extolled the virtues of the latest BMW X3, the Mercedes GLC, and even the Audi Q5. He invited Marissa to sit in each vehicle's plush interior, elaborating on features he had barely mentioned the previous day. But Marissa could sense his unease. He was talking too fast, cracking nervous jokes, and he seemed keenly aware that Timothy was monitoring every move. Marissa leaned against the BMW X3's open door and crossed her arms. "You know, Mr. Richards," she said, "I had a few questions yesterday, but you seemed to lose interest as soon as that other customer walked in." A flush of color crept up Brad's neck. "I apologize, I made a mistake. Sometimes we get a lot of people who just browse and never buy." And Michael held up a hand. "Stop, just stop with the excuses. You judged my wife by her appearance. You treated her like her time, and money weren't valuable. That's not how we conduct ourselves, and we're certainly not going to reward that behavior by making a large purchase from someone who can't treat customers with basic respect." Brad's face paled. Timothy cut in his voice, shaking slightly. "Perhaps we should have another associate help you, sir. I'm sure we can find a solution that works for everyone." Marissa, who had been silent for the last minute, spoke up. "I do still want to test drive the BMW X3. Despite how I was treated, I genuinely like the car. And if all goes well, I might purchase one. But I'm also curious, do you have any electric models available? My husband and I value sustainability." Timothy nodded eagerly. "We do have the BMW iX, as well as some Audi e-tron models. Why don't I have one of our green vehicle specialists show them to you?" This was where things took a twist. Michael, never one to shy from being direct, said, "Thank you, but first I need a private word with Mr. Richards. Could you give us a moment?" Timothy looked uneasy, but acquiesced. He and Marissa stepped away, leaving Michael and Brad near the iX display. Marissa could see them in conversation, though she couldn't catch the words. Michael's face was a mask of calm determination, while Brad's expression oscillated from defensive to apologetic. After a tense few minutes, Michael turned on his heel and left Brad standing by the car looking as though he'd just been taken to task in the principal's office. Michael returned to Marissa. "All settled," he said softly. "Let's focus on getting you the car you want now." Timothy assigned a different sales associate, Gina, to handle the rest of the transaction. Gina was polite, knowledgeable, and thorough. She answered all of Marissa's questions about the BMW iX, from battery range to charging infrastructure. Marissa loved the silent ride and the cutting-edge features. On a test drive through the streets of Los Angeles, she felt the smooth acceleration and was quickly sold. Michael even joked about it being a spaceship on wheels. In less than 2 hours, they finalized the paperwork. Michael insisted on paying outright, no financing. The total amount hovered around $85,000 after taxes and additional features. The swiftness of the purchase left the staff in a collective state of awe. Gina happily arranged for a courtesy detailing and assured them the car would be delivered to their home by that evening. On their way out, Timothy hovered nearby, offering profuse apologies and thanks in equal measure. But Michael had one more twist up his sleeve. He asked to speak with Timothy and Carla in the manager's office while Marissa waited outside. Marissa wasn't privy to the conversation, but from the muffled voices she could tell it was heated at times. She heard phrases like unacceptable and training on customer service drifting through the door. After about 15 minutes, Michael emerged, calmly leaving Timothy and Carla, looking thoroughly chastened. Over the next few days, Marissa tried out her new electric SUV. Thrilled by the futuristic features, she almost put the humiliating incident behind her, until she received a text from her friend, Katie, who was the one who had originally recommended Sullivan Prestige Motors. Katie had heard from a contact who worked at the dealership that the general manager had launched an internal investigation into their customer service practices. Sales staff were being retrained, and Carla had been put on probation. Brad Richards had faced disciplinary action, receiving a severe reprimand and losing commission privileges for a month. The rumor was he might be fired if he had another complaint lodged against him. Marissa felt a pang of guilt, but also recognized it wasn't her fault. The staff's behavior had been abominable, and Michael's intervention had simply forced them to confront it. If they wanted to keep customers, especially well-off ones, they needed to treat everyone with respect from the start, not just those who looked wealthy. Just when Marissa thought the drama was over, she received an unexpected phone call from an unknown number. She hesitated, but answered out of curiosity. "Hello, is this Mrs. Peterson?" The voice was female, shaky with nerves. "Yes, this is Marissa," she responded cautiously. "This is Carla from the dealership. Please don't hang up, I need to speak with you." Marissa's heart thumped. She pulled the phone closer to her ear. "Carla," she said, recognizing the voice of the same receptionist who had essentially kicked her out. "What do you want?" Carla apologized profusely, her voice trembling. She explained that she was calling from her personal phone, not from the dealership's official line. She wanted to tell Marissa how sorry she was for the incident, that it wasn't a reflection of her personal beliefs, but a result of the pressure she faced from upper management. She confessed that her job was on the line, and she also revealed a deeper issue: the dealership's culture had become toxic. Judging customers based on superficial details rather than genuine interest. "I know I handled everything badly," Carla said, her voice cracking. "But please, if there's anything you or your husband can do to let Mr. Russell know I'm truly remorseful, I'd be so grateful. I'm a single mother with 2 kids, and I can't afford to lose this job." Marissa felt conflicted. On one hand, Carla had treated her in an inexcusable manner. On the other hearing, Carla's desperation tugged at her compassion. After a long pause, Marissa replied softly, "I'll talk to my husband. No promises, but I'll let him know you reached out." That evening, Marissa discussed Carla's call with Michael. Initially, he was resolute. "She humiliated you," he said, "and now she expects mercy. People have to live with the consequences of their actions." Marissa understood his frustration, but she also felt a moral tug. "I know, but she sounded sincere. And she has kids. Maybe she just followed the dealership's culture. That doesn't excuse it, but it could explain it." Michael took a deep breath, thinking, he wasn't a cruel man. He disliked injustice, but he also believed in second chances if the person was truly contrite. After some deliberation, he agreed to call Timothy Russell the next day and share the fact that Carla had apologized personally, and that while they didn't approve of her behavior, they recognized her remorse. The next day, Michael made the call. Timothy listened and assured Michael he would handle the matter fairly. Carla later texted Marissa thanking her profusely, saying she'd only been given a final warning rather than immediate termination. Whether Carla could turn her life and career around was up to her, but at least she had another shot. With the matter seemingly resolved, Marissa and Michael went about their lives. Marissa embraced her new BMW iX, reveling in the quiet rides around Los Angeles. The story of her being kicked out of a dealership only to return in a Rolls-Royce Phantom became something of an urban legend among their friends. Some found it humorous, others found it infuriating, but everyone agreed it was a perfect tale of karma, catching up with those who judge by appearances. One Sunday afternoon, about 2 weeks later, Marissa and Michael drove past Sullivan Prestige Motors. She glanced at the showroom windows, remembering the humiliation she'd felt. A sense of closure washed over her. She had no desire to step inside again, but she couldn't help but smile at the thought that the staff inside had been forced to reckon with their actions. Michael looked over at her. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" Marissa smiled. "I'm great," she replied with genuine warmth. "I was just thinking about how important it is to treat everyone with kindness, no matter what they look like or how they dress." Michael squeezed her hand. "Couldn't agree more." They drove on, leaving behind the glinting facade of the dealership that had become a reluctant stage for their lesson. In respect, word of what had happened spread not just among Marissa's social circle, but also within the luxury car community. Some say that Timothy Russell was forced to revamp the entire customer service protocol. Sullivan Prestige Motors eventually instituted mandatory training sessions, changed their approach to greeting walk-ins, and revised their sales strategy to avoid alienating potential customers. Brad Richards, facing a huge hit to his reputation, was said to have changed his attitude. Some rumored that he later quit and joined a different dealership, hoping for a fresh start. Others claimed he became the biggest advocate for courteous service. Whatever his path, he was no longer the smug salesman who could dismiss a customer based on appearances. In the end, Marissa's story became more than just a tale of revenge or triumph. It became a reminder that true worth has nothing to do with the clothes one wears or the car one drives, and everything to do with how we treat each other. The dramatic arrival of her husband in a Rolls-Royce Phantom served as the perfect twist of fate, an unexpected turn that forced the dealership staff to confront their shallow prejudices. And for Marissa and Michael, the moment had crystallized their belief in compassion and fairness. They hoped in their own small way that the embarrassment suffered by Sullivan Prestige Motors would lead to a permanent shift in how customers, regardless of background, were treated. It was in every sense of the phrase a lesson in hard karma. What goes around truly does come around. And sometimes it arrives in the form of a luxury automobile that roars into the parking lot demanding respect. Not with its price tag, but with the principle it carries. And there you have it. One simple woman's honest trip to buy a car became a lesson that turned an entire dealership upside down. From being sneered at to rolling up in a Rolls-Royce Phantom, Marissa proved that dignity and kindness conquer all forms of pretentiousness. In the end, the dealership staff had to face the consequences of their arrogance. Brad Richards learned his lesson the hard way, and Carla got a second chance thanks to Marissa's compassion. If you enjoyed this story of karma drama and unexpected twists, please consider supporting this channel. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions help us bring you more real-life inspired tales and eye-opening narratives. So go ahead, hit that like button, share this story with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Let's spread the word that kindness counts and everyone deserves respect, no matter their appearance. Thank you for watching.